My name is Gabby Avila, like he mentioned. I'm a part of the pre-sale engineer team for Zoho. For today's agenda, we will be taking a look at how Agile promises speed and flexibility, the importance of structure in Agile methodology, and how Soho Sprints can empower Agile teams with its different features. Soho Sprints does have a lot of real-world use cases it can be used in, and we'll definitely take a look at that as well and see some of these features live in action. All right. So I did not see a lot of raise of hand on the Agile side, so I really wanted to cover what is Agile, right, and how that promises speed and flexibility. So Agile is able to deliver speed and flexibility through the use of sprints. And sprints are basically short iterative cycles. So in contrast to a waterfall, right, or more of like a Kanban project, in Agile tools, you're actually delivering shorter pieces of functionality. So you can get to deliver, let's say you're developing a mobile app, you get to deliver already an interface that works and that provides some function, and then you can enhance that through these sprints, right? So you go through these design, the develop, the test, deployment, and the launching of these different sprints, delivering those different functionalities out in pieces. Now, if we're constantly doing this, right, we're constantly going through this looping, right, and developing and testing. So how can Agile deliver value amid constant change, right? So if there's constant change, there could be chaos, right? Because we're constantly changing, we're constantly developing. So how do we keep this balance? Well, we can balance agility with structure, okay? Which is where our Agile tools come into place, right? So the Agile tool will enable your team and empower them to build structure around Agile projects. When I was initially actually learning about Agile tools, I was talking to my friend who works as a project manager. And I asked her, what would you be using if you weren't using an Agile tool? And she's like, I kind of picture a bunch of different sticky notes all over a board. So I have all these tasks that I need to complete. I have all these functions I need to deliver, but I have no organization, no clear visibility, right? So that's where the importance of structure comes into play in Agile tools. So without an Agile tool, you're left with unclear priorities, right? What is most important to the team to deliver first, right? In the example that I gave of maybe like a mobile app development, if you don't know what's most important to develop for the app first, you can be left with delivering pieces of the mobile app that are not clearly functional to the end user, right? So we need to set priorities. What's most important? Missed deadlines. I know it happens to me a lot that if I have 5-6 meetings in a day and I have a bunch of tasks and calls to complete on the same day, if I don't have a view of this on a calendar view or a view of this on my mobile device or my app, I get lost on my deadlines and what needs to be completed. Poor communication. So I don't know if a lot of you have heard, but it's kind of like we like to say that email is now going away, right? Why is that going away? Because we tend to start using these tools and the native ability that these tools have for communication within the teams so that we can avoid poor communication, right? So in an email, you can lose the email thread. You don't have that email organized into a specific task that they're talking about, versus when you're actually using the Agile tool, we can definitely track that in the Agile tool. And all of this leading to reduced productivity and the inability to adapt effectively, which is what we were looking at with the sprint and the diagram that we were looking at for Agile tools, right? So we need to be able to adapt effectively. So how do we build structure in Agile? Well, we can build structure in Agile by setting clear roles and responsibilities. So if I know what I need to complete and how I can help my team to complete this, right, then I'm already building that structure and I'm organizing this so that my team also knows what needs to get done if I'm on the manager side. Prioritize and organize work. If we know what's most important to us, We can focus on that, focus our time and effort on the prioritized items instead of being maybe more scattered and looking at all these different tasks that I need to complete. Progress tracking and visibility. So we're able to see as well, since we are already completing these items, we can see, okay, these have been completed, what's left to complete, and prioritize those items as well. Accountability and ownership connects back to the clear roles and responsibilities that we're setting. And we're able to track, as we know, when we're using a tool that is able to track specifically who's completing what and at what time. Continuous improvement and adaptability. So as we've seen with sprints, we're releasing functional pieces of the development tool that we're completing, or the project that we're completing, leading to the ability to track improvements and adaptability by being able to gather feedback from the team as well as from the client's end that we can then push into our next sprint. So Zoho sprints. How can Zoho sprints assist with this structure building, with the organization, with setting those clear roles? So we're actually going to dive into Zoho sprints and take a look at those different features that it offers, but break this down even further to understand how these features work together to be able to accomplish this. So we're going to take a look at organization and structure within Zoho sprints, what features can assist with this, centralized documentation within Zoho sprints, collaboration and communication. So as we were mentioning, right, to avoid that poor communication within teams, that we have too many tasks to complete, we have so many deadlines to keep track of. And then transparency and stakeholder involvement within Zoho sprints, and tracking analytics and reporting, which actually connects back to that transparency with the stakeholders and with our team overall. So something that I did want to bring up during today's presentation, so Agile methodologies are usually used the most for development, right? Whether it's mobile app development or website development. But it actually can be applied to a couple of other diverse needs as well, like e-learning course launches. That's something that can also be launched out in phases, right? Or can also be launched out and provide some functional already value as we go through those sprints. Or like even the building maintenance, right? So building maintenance can be split down into different, let's say the HVAC maintenance or different aspects of the building as well. That can also be released out with those sprints. Or even like an office relocation. So Zoho sprints can actually be used for a lot of different projects. Doesn't have to be just development. And let's keep that in mind for today's presentation. So first, organization and structure. We're going to take a look at work item hierarchies within Zoho sprints. The ability to create custom work items and statuses. So not only can you build work, can you track those different work items, but I can also be flexible with my projects. I can also build those different custom statuses and custom work items in case I need more of a more in-depth hierarchy than what Zoho sprints offers. And what does it mean to do that sprint planning? Work items in Zoho sprints are composed by stories, tasks, and bugs, okay? And stories are actually features or functions or a client's needs, okay? So if I am a client and I need that mobile app developed, I can break that down into different stories or features from the app that I need developed, right? So that are those stories. Next, we have tasks that need to be completed or manageable units of work to actually accomplish or release that function or feature. Versus bugs. Bugs are actually the problems or flaws that we encounter developing the project that need to be resolved to be able to deliver a functional piece of work. Now, building up to that hierarchy within Zoho sprints, so the project will have different epics, right? Epics are those features, right? So let's go back to that example of the mobile app. The mobile app is the project. If one of the features could be, let's say, building a calculator within the project, within the app, right? So that's an epic. Then that epic is broken down into different stories or different tasks. Okay, and those can actually be grouped into the different sprints, which will be released as the functional piece of work. To help this make better sense, let's look at an example that I actually use to understand Agile methodologies. So think about keeping a clean home as our epic, okay? That epic can then be broken down into stories that in this case are like different areas of the home, right? So if we wanted to focus on cleaning the kitchen, then we'd be looking at the tasks under that specific story, right? So each of these stories have those different tasks that need to be completed, but maybe I don't necessarily want to work by a story where I need to complete everything for the kitchen. Maybe I want to actually work on cleaning all the different floors from the house. So then on the sprint level, we're getting the tasks that apply to the floors, and we're connecting those to the different sprints that I need to complete. Okay. Visualizing it with this type of example for the project really helped me understand, and I hope it helps you understand as well as far as the work item hierarchies within Zoho sprints. So let's take a look at work items within Zoho sprints. All right. So within Zoho sprints, we have our epics that we saw right now, right? In the example of our epic that we were giving, it was the example of keeping a clean home, right? So in this example, we're also using like a banking mobile app that we were discussing as well, okay? So in the example, we have the different sprints that we see at the very top. So we have sprint 3 and sprint 1. If we notice, the one in green is the one currently active and running. The one in red is still not live. So we're planning the sprint out, but it's still not actively something that is being worked on as far as, let's say, coding what we need out. Within sprint 1, we see a story, which is user login screen. And within that story, we have these different tasks that need to be completed, which is design login screen and implement the login screen code. Bugs could also be a part of the story. If throughout building or implementing this, we had a bug in the UI, then that could be a bug under that story that we needed to resolve. So with the example that we were giving of a mobile app development, Zoho Sprint can help organize work into manageable sprints that we were taking a look at, tracking this progress in real time, and also promoting that collaboration between designers, developers, and testers. So we covered organization and structure with the use of work items and work item hierarchies. Let's take a look at centralized documentation within Zoho Sprints. So centralized documentation in Zoho Sprints can be seen with the use of backlog view, the Scrum board, and then also taking a look at timesheets through the reports. Let's go back into our example of the banking mobile app. If we go into our backlog view on the left to the epics, we'll be able to split the screen up onto the backlog and the sprint planning on the right. So on the left, we have everything that is still not set or scheduled to be set for a sprint. It's everything that's pending that we still haven't programmed for a specific sprint. That's what we see in our backlog view. Versus on the right, we're already planning our sprint number 3. And this is something that you can easily get done through the use of a drag and drop functionality by dragging from our backlog view into our sprint view. When we're ready to start the sprint, we can start the sprint right here at the top right. We do also have a Zoho Sprint mobile app. For the mobile app, as far as the backlog view, if you're out right now traveling, right, you're at Zoholics, but you still have to keep a track of your team, you still have to add stories or maybe work items, you can do that through our mobile app. This leads us to the Scrum board. So the Scrum board is similar to what we would like to see on a Kanban board, where we're able to see it by the status. So this is an active sprint that we're working on, and we're able to see the different tasks, different work items by the status of the work item. We can visualize the sprint backlog items in swim lanes. So swim lanes, I like to think of them as groups. And right here on the right, we can see that the swim lane is set to priority. So we see medium and high priority there. And when you click on the priority, it brings up the different work items under that priority for this specific sprint. So you're able to make progress more visible and transparent with the Scrum board. So now let's go into the board view. So in this board view, I can see that I'm currently working on sprint 2. That's what I see right here on the top left of the screen. If we needed to switch to a different sprint, we could do that through this filter option. At the bottom, I can see the different statuses. If we had added a custom status, that would be visible in here as well. And in this case, we have the to-do and the in progress and done statuses, which are the default statuses within Zoho sprints. Now for timesheet tracking within Zoho sprints. So for timesheet tracking, you are able to do single-click approvals on the manager side, and I will show you this on the next for the demo part. Also, you can do consistent tracking of logged hours. It's great to have a place where you can just go into the work item that you're working on and be able to add already the hours in there instantly, or you could also start the time tracker and have that track the time for you as well. So for a individual person working on these items, right, for a standard user working on the items or somebody that has a work item assigned, you can go into the work item. Okay. And at the top, we're going to see log hours. If I needed to log the hours that I've taken with this specific item, I can click on log hours. It's already filling some of that information out for me, right, because of the work item details. And I can just confirm the log time that I need to add, whether it's an hour or two, and whether that's billable or not. If I need to add a description, maybe what I exactly completed or more details on that, I can do that in the description field. Once I create the log time, that will appear as pending status. And and on the manager's end, they could go in here to the report view or the project timesheet view that we find at the top of the project tabs. And if I am a manager and I have access to be able to approve or reject, then I'd be able to do that right here from the right side. At the top of the screen, I can view the timesheet report by work items, which is the default view that I'm showing to you right now. Or I could also switch that into a meetings or general view. So what about Agile for website development? So in Zoho Sprints, you can also streamline task management for website development. Improve the team coordination and collaboration with what we're going to see next for communication within Zoho sprints, and enable clear tracking of progress through these sprints. So for collaboration and communication, let's dive into some of the features that are offered within Zoho sprints, like comments and mentions. So if you're using Zoho CRM, if you use the notes section within the CRM, you're able to use the @ symbol, right, to mention someone. You're able to tag a full team also to indicate a specific, maybe you have a specific query or you need to give some type of feedback. This is available in Zoho Sprints. Okay, and so sprints, you are able to add those comments, you're able to add the mentions, and this is all fed into that time feed and activity stream that we're going to be seeing in the demo part as well. There is also an integration with Zoho Click, facilitating communication so you can easily create a channel for a specific project, or you can actually use the bot to do specific items. There's also a meetings module. So with an Agile methodology, you do need to have those consistent meetings and communication with your team to be able to learn about what's happened during the task completion, or maybe share feedback from the client with the team, and we can get this done through the meetings module, which is actually integrating with Zoho Meetings. for online meetings. So for the comments and mentions, this gives you the ability to have, clear and immediate feedback. You can comment directly on work items. So instead of having to send maybe an email regarding a work item, why isn't this completed? You can get that done through the comment section within the work item itself. So let's take a look at those comments and mentions and the time feed and activity view. So if we go back into our board view, if we go directly into one of the work items, so if we go, let's say, into screen 1 after login, so under this work item, we do have those details, descriptions, and the next tab down is comments. We can add a comment. We can even create, let's say, a agenda or a bullet point in here, and we can mention others as needed. So I could use that @ symbol, type in someone's name, and in this case, mention Emily specifically. Maybe Emily needs to help me with part of the work item here, or I need to provide some feedback. You could also mention a whole user group. So if I am specifically targeting the UI designer team that I need to share this feedback with, then I could tag the user group instead of just a specific user. So for all of that activity that we're completing within a project, we are able to see this within our feed and activity stream. And this includes other changes that we're completing to the project as well. So on the feed side, I can see Gabby completed sprint in banking mobile app project, and we do see the sprint number that was done for. I could select a specific project to view the items for that specific project so I don't get too confused and overloaded with everything on this feed. We can also see the activity stream that I can think of it as like a timeline or time log, right? So on May 15th, I can see there was an update to a specific sprint item. So clear visibility over what's happening with the project and also clear communication with the comments. So with the feed and activity stream, we do ensure transparency with the team. It keeps everyone updated what's happening with the specific project, not just the manager or a specific user, right? And it provides real-time project updates on the project itself. We already got a view of the feed and activity stream. Back to that mobile app, right? With the mobile app, you are able to keep track of those updates as well. So again, if you are out on the go, you're traveling, you can definitely use that mobile app to stay updated with your team. Now, the Zoho Click integration. So with the Zoho Click integration, you are able to use the Zoho Click chat bar. And I'll definitely show you that in the demo part. You are able to use the Sprint bot. So if you're using any of our other applications for Zoho, you've noticed that those applications have a bot that notify you of specific items, right? In Zoho Sprints, the same can apply, right? So you do have that Zoho Sprints bot that will be updating you if there's a specific update within the project. You can also convert click messages to work items. This really caught my attention right here because if you're messaging with a colleague, right, and you're like, this should be a task within a project, not just something that we're sharing over a message, you can definitely actually convert that into a work item. Also, within Zoho Click, you can search for a work item based on a criteria. Okay. So if we are within Click, we are able to do that, searching for work items within a specific project. And you are also able to schedule a Scrum meeting. So as well, if you're in communication with, if your manager's in communication with you or vice versa, and, you're really talking about a topic that should be a meeting, that should be something that's being discussed as a team, you're actually able to schedule that meeting, the Scrum meeting, directly from Zoho Click. So let's take a look at that Zoho Click meeting. So first, for integrations within Zoho Sprints, you do need to go just to your settings section. Right here under Marketplace, you'll find Zoho, and you can integrate with the different applications that integrate with Zoho Sprints, which in this case, we're looking at specifically Zoho Click. Once we've installed that integration, the actual Sprints bot will guide you through the rest of the process for integrating a specific project or creating a channel for a project. So if there is, if you want to keep constant communication for a project within a specific channel in Click, you can do that. At the bottom, we do see fetch items, add meetings, add item, or configure. So with the easy click of a button, you are able to get those items done, whether it's creating a meeting or fetching items for a specific project. So I created this channel, and it actually guided me through that sprint bot. And I created it for a Tidy Space Clear Mind project. Any updates to the project, here we see Gabby has updated the date of a task, and it's actually notifying us directly through that channel for that project instead of the overall sprint spot, which is on the right. With the meetings module in Zoho Sprints, you are able to schedule your meetings, provide reminders. You can schedule reoccurring meetings as well. So if your sprints are being released every 2 weeks, you can schedule, bi-weekly meetings as needed. You can also record and review meeting notes or create an agenda for your meeting. And through the Zoho meeting integration, you are able to create your online meetings. So let's take a look at where the meeting module is at. If you go back into Zoho Sprints, and we go directly into one of our projects, within each of the work items and at the top overall project view, you will have a meeting section. So let's say I wanted to create a meeting for one of my work items. I could click on the work item and click on the meetings tab. Now I can schedule a meeting, apply the date and time, the duration of the meeting, which are the participants. So it can add by default all the work item participants or the people that are working on the project itself. And then I can create an agenda of the meeting down below. At the top, we can see in this case, this is an offline meeting versus an online meeting, which would be using the meetings platform. So we're empowering Agile teams with organization and structure, centralized documentation, collaboration and communication, and transparency and stakeholder involvement. So let's take a look at what features in Zoho Sprints provides that transparency and stakeholder involvement. We're able to do this through client user roles. Okay, so you are able to add client user roles to give them access to necessary information. They can also actually take a view of your dashboards. Okay, so those dashboards can be internal or external or shared, and reporting and analytics. You're also able to create those stand-up meetings to keep conversations going. And of course, these meetings can be internal or in this case, also something that you're discussing with the client themselves. With the client user roles and the portal, you are able to share the backlog view with the client. You can share specific work items with them as well. And you actually get to decide specifically what does get shared with the client and what does not. Okay. You're able to add comments or feedback on the work items. So the client is able to add comments or feedback on the work items. And they can actually track the sprint progress in real time, right? Again, they cannot edit or assign work items unless you explicitly give them access to do so. So shared dashboards. Shared dashboards allows that team transparency and sharing, where the progress is with that project, as well as client involvement, right, and transparency. So you can share with the client as well, how is this project progressing and what is still pending. So let's take a view of those shared dashboards within Zoho Sprints. Okay. Going back into my Zoho Sprints account, within the Zoho Sprint itself, and now within a specific sprint. I apologize for that. So we're going to go directly into sprint 3 right here. And at the top, we can see the dashboard axis. Okay. So this is the dashboard is broken down by sprints. In this case, we're looking specifically at sprint 3. And we could always take a look at one of the sprints that we actively have going. So let's take a look at sprint 2, actually, so we can see some of those more details on the dashboard view. Okay. So on that dashboard, we can see the sprint completion. We've completed a total of one task or one work item. There's 4 total, so there's still 3 pending items. We can break those work items down into the different work items, story, tasks, and bugs, which you can see on the right. And then we can see that broken down into the end user that is completing those work items. So now to our final point on the feature side and the demo on tracking and analytics reporting within Zoho sprints. So reporting and analytics within Zoho sprints, there are many standard reports already built into Zoho sprints, so you do not have to start from scratch on these reports. You actually have epic, release, and timesheet reports and charts. You do also have the burn down and burn up charts available, as well as the velocity graph. So all of these charts right here mentioned are actually already built out within the Zoho Sprints account, ready for you to start using as you start working on those different projects. For this example, I've switched into a different account here just to show you some more detailed reports. But at the very top, we see those different tabs that we were taking a look at previously, where we had gone into the backlog, epics, release board, and then we can see reports to the right of that. Okay. For the report side, we're able to see these reports in the sprint reports, epic reports, release or timesheet reports. And then we can see all the different report types to the right of that. For the example of the velocity report, so this report is actually really important for Agile development. It is able to track the average velocity, which is actually comparing your completed versus committed items. This helps you check what the workload is for your team right now and how they're performing, so that you can plan the next sprints according to these details, right? Do not maybe overload your team, but as well keep them in progress with your actual timeline. If you need custom dashboards or reporting, you are able to integrate with Zoho Analytics. Okay, so Zoho Analytics is able to provide you with those custom or advanced analytics. Also with the use of Zia, Zoho's AI tool or intelligent, you are able to also run queries or actionable visualizations with it, like predictive analytics. On here on the right of the screen, it's providing some insights. So it reads through that graph or chart information, and it provides you with specific bulleted insights on what's happening with this specific project. So in today's presentation, we've seen how you can thrive in Agile with Zoho Sprints. I summarized the main key points that we were going through, so you would have those available here on this single screen. But basically with Zoho Sprints, you are able to organize and prioritize work, centralize documents and visualization, foster that collaboration and communication with what we saw as far as the comments, the Agile board, the Scrum board, ensure transparency and stakeholder involvement with the use of the client user roles, the portal, and track progress and drive improvement with those built-in analytics or the integration with Zoho Analytics.